We aren't ready for draft. Hi, Jake, your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw. And if you've been on my streams lately, you know that more than yeehaw, my catchphrase has been, we aren't ready for draft, which is a fun thing that we say when crazy things are happening inside of a game, but draft is coming to Pokemon Unite very, very soon. In fact, it looks like it's dropping on February 27th, which is Pokemon Day, right along with a new Pokemon hitting Pokemon Unite. Miraidon, and that Pokemon is going to be an EX Pokemon. So Zacian, Miraidon, Mewtwo, and Mewtwo are all EX Pokemon right there, and they are going to be available to play inside of Master Rank, and inside of Master Rank you're going to have draft. Now these Pokemon are also going to be selectable outside of Master Rank, but there will be no draft. Let me explain what I mean when I say we aren't ready for draft, because we're not ready for draft. We really aren't. And it's not just the players, and it's not just the game. There are a lot of reasons we're not ready for draft, and there are a few things to be really hopeful of. So let's get into draft in this video. If you've watched any competitive Unite, some of the tournaments on my channel, or the Unite Championship Series last year, you have seen draft, and you will see it this year. One of the most exciting things about draft is now the ranked mode, once you hit Master Rank in Pokemon Unite, is going to essentially mirror what you are seeing a lot better in the highest levels of competition in Pokemon Unite. And this is going to do some really cool things, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but it's also going to do some kind of weird things, which I'll talk about now. Inside of draft, you have a ban phase, then a pick phase for your Pokemon. So both teams currently will ban a Pokemon blind. What that means is you don't know what the other team is banning, so you're just going to ban what you think is going to be the biggest problem inside the match, something you don't want to see them play, which in theory, I think is going to be amazing for the game, at least at first, or maybe not at first. At least as we start going, I think it's going to be amazing for the game. At first, you could get some people making some crazy bans, which I'll get to in a second. But first, you're going to ban a Pokemon, and then teams are going to take turns picking. It's going to be one team gets a first pick, then the next team gets 2 picks in a row, then 2 picks as it goes on, and you will finish picking your roster. So you will get an advantage being the first pick because you can grab the most powerful Pokemon that you think will help your team win, and then the next team gets 2 picks in a row so they can shore up whatever they think would be the next 2 best choices. There are definitely some advantages to both, and given that teams are blind banning things, oftentimes when a meta is crazy, you will see both teams ban the same thing, which is great. For instance, when Metagross was just broken, like it was broken for like a week before it kind of got patched right there, you would see most likely every team would ban Metagross, or at least one of the 2 sides would ban it. And if either side bans it, no one can play it. The same thing with the pick phase. If I happen to pick, Zacian for our team, the enemy team now can't use Zacian. This is going to make matches super dynamic. You're going to see really exciting team comps, and it's going to raise the level of play inside of the ranked mode in Pokemon Unite. It simply has to. But it's not going to come without a lot of issues at first. First, I'm going to talk about the players. Then I'm going to talk about the game, because this is more on the game than it is the players. But let's face it, there's a lot going on with the players that is not going to make draft super ideal. The level of skill inside of Pokemon Unite is, I mean, it's wide, basically. There you got some really high skill people, some really low skill people, and I think unlike a lot of the MOBAs I've played, this is just my personal take, I think you have a ton of players that are fairly low skill in this game, whereas you have less that are kind of medium and high. It doesn't seem to really average out in the middle in Pokemon Unite as much, and I think that is due to the game's matchmaking, something I will get to here in a minute. But one thing I've noticed in the ranked mode of this game currently is your lowest skill players, often your lowest ranked players as well, inside of a lobby, just kind of do whatever they want, regardless of what would be good for the team. You rarely see them picking a role that would fill out what's best for the team. They're going to pick Zeraora with Goal Getter because they like Zeraora with Goal Getter, and that's what they want to play every single game, and they really don't care what works well for their team. It's unfortunate, but they're not discouraged from doing this in any way right now, so the players are just going to continue to do this, and the draft system of the game doesn't do anything necessarily to dissuade them from this behavior. They can just simply keep doing it, especially if the Pokemon that they want to pick is not highly sought after. The enemy team won't pick it. you surely won't ban it, so they'll just be able to lock in that Pokemon every single game still, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense for your team. That's going to be really unfortunate. Hopefully that's something the game will try to sort out, but I'm honestly not sure what they're going to do about it at first. You also have this other really unfortunate thing. So around the time of the Mewtwo Y and Mewtwo X era, and Zacian as well, you would have players that only wanted to play these Pokemon because they were the most broken thing in the game, and when they didn't get these Pokemon, they would often grief their games or just kind of play whatever, not really even try inside the match because they wanted to play Mewtwo Y, dang it, and you stole that opportunity from them. Now imagine you're going through this ban phase, your team won't ban out Miraidon for whatever reason, and it's because that this one player wants to pick it. They don't get it, the enemy team gets it or something like that, or the enemy team bans it, and now they don't get their favorite Pokemon, and now they run into this match and they're just kind of griefing the entire game. This is a very real possibility, and something Pokemon Unite is going to need to prepare for somehow, and we'll talk about how they possibly could. So let's talk about what Pokemon Unite can do, and let's talk about the mess that is Draft currently, because if the version of Draft that is coming into Unite is the version of Draft we have currently for the Championship Series, it actually is an absolute disaster for a few big reasons. And again, don't worry, because I think there is a silver lining at the end of this video. I don't want you to feel like this is all doom and gloom, because there is a lot of positives that can come with this, and overall, I am excited for Draft. I think it is absolutely what the game needs. But let's talk about the draft mode inside the game currently. So I want you to take a look at this draft screen right here. As you can see, you have the ability to pre-pick a Pokemon with the R button. You're gonna see me do that here. I'm gonna scroll on down to, I think, Alolan Ninetales, and I hit the pre-pick button right here. Yeah, and you can see that star on it right there. So I hit my R button, I let the team know, hey, I would like to play Alolan Ninetales. You can also use the ZR button to request a ban, like telling your whole team, hey, let's ban this Pokemon, and then you can vote for which Pokemon to ban. Now, if the teams get it even, it looks like it just kind of randomly gives it to someone. So if all 5 players pick a different one, or if it's 2-on-2 and the other person doesn't pick one of those Pokemon, it just seems to give it to one of the 2 sides. This could be great, because as long as you have 1 or 2 players on your team that have any idea what's going on, you're probably going to ban out one of the scary Pokemon inside the game. This is going to make balance so much better. But something I want you to notice right here, as this video continues, I request a ban on a Lapras right now, and then I end up moving my cursor accidentally, and my ban is hovering on Snorlax. I click to ban Lapras, and Lapras is banned. Obviously, this is not with real players right now, so everyone would vote. My opponents would also have a ban. And now it's going into the pick phase. But something I want you to notice right here as we head into the pick phase, my team has the first pick, all right? But there's no way to know that my team has the first pick in this current system. There is absolutely no way to know. And you might be saying, well, hold on, Jake, you silly goose. And also, you look great today. Thank you. Didn't need the compliment, but I appreciate it. Hold on, Jake, you silly goose who's looking fantastic. You're the purple team. Of course you are picking first. Well, let me show you this other clip right here that would make you go, oh no. Now take a look at this. I'm still the purple team, however, I am not first pick. The orange team is now the first pick. Now, why is that? Well, it's because the orange team technically, in reality, is actually what would be considered the top team, or the purple team if you were spectating this game. Now, I don't know that as a player. I have no idea. I just see my team on the left side right here. We are the purple team. And now, unfortunately, the enemy team right here is getting their first pick. This could be disastrous, because if your team does not want to ban out Miraidon, and the enemy team is well aware that they are the first pick somehow, or they're just gambling and hoping they're the first pick, nobody bans out the broken Pokemon inside the game, and all of a sudden your enemy team actually gets to pick it. Your team thought maybe they did, their team thought maybe they did, no one decides to ban it out. They go with a cheesy ban like I did here in this video, which is Gengar, and now all of a sudden you're in a lot of trouble. This is something Pokemon Unite has to fix. They have to fix this. You have to know which team is actually getting the first pick here. It makes absolutely no sense that this system works like this. Now, in competitive play, you are aware whether you're the top or bottom team. But in ranked play, you're not sure if you're the top or bottom team. There's absolutely no indicator technically which side you are on inside the game. The sides are mirrored and everyone shows as purple inside the game for their side. You just don't know who's getting this ban. This absolutely needs to be fixed. It makes zero sense that this system is like this. There are other things inside this system that also need to be fixed, but this is one of the craziest things. You cannot put draft into the game in this form because it will be absolute chaos. Something that also can happen right here is you can see I can first pick Sableye on my team with Goal Getter because no one can really stop me, and this is something that they're going to need to figure out. Yes, this system will still be better, but a player who just wants to grief your team because they didn't get what they want or who doesn't care about a team composition could easily grief this mode. Another thing that's going to be difficult, and I'm not sure exactly how they're going to handle it, are duos and trios inside of Pokemon Unite. If you're with a trio, in theory, they would be placed above you in the order. So basically the way Pokemon Unite sorts players is the player furthest to the left, I talk about this on a matchmaking video, the player furthest to the left has the highest MMR, matchmaking rating. It's not necessarily your game rank, it is how the game ranks you outside of that. It's based on a lot of different factors like your win rate, recent wins, win streak, KOs, and not you getting knocked out inside of a match, your average damage, lots of things go in to your matchmaking rating. However, when you're with a duo or a trio, they get priority when you see them inside the lobby. And in theory, they would also get priority inside a draft. So now for a solo queue player, you are going to run into a situation where you are at least behind 2 people if they're a duo, 3 people if they're a trio, or 4 people if you're paired with 2 duos. So you could be inside of a draft and have very little influence over what's going on inside of it, and you just simply have to do whatever your trio is deciding. And if your trio is not working well for this draft, if you're paired with a trio that for whatever reason really wants to ban out Snorlax because one time they played against a really good Snorlax, and now your team bans Snorlax, their team bans Umbreon or whatever actual difficult thing is inside the game right now, and then they first pick and snatch up the most broken thing in the meta at this time, you'll then see your trio pick 3 attackers, and all of a sudden you're in this horrible position. Now, can this happen in the game right now? Yeah, of course it can, but now the trio that could have kind of griefed your ranked match before by just kind of picking all attackers or something like that, has even more control over your game because they are deciding what is banned out, and they're not making any good picks against their opponents. They're just playing their comfort Pokemon. So draft could also put the players once again in a situation where trios and duos control even more of a game for solo queue players, and that is without question an issue. There are some fixes to all of this, and I would like to go more into draft in this video and how it works and how best to use it, but I honestly think we should wait until we see what the draft version of this game is going to look like. There's a lot to say about draft. There's a lot to say about draft priority. There's a ton of things to talk about with this, but I can't imagine this version of draft, this exact version of draft, is what we're going to see inside the game. So let's talk about what Pokemon Unite could do and may do to make this a better system for the game. First of all, again, I think there are some really exciting things about this. I'm not a pessimist about the system at all. I think I just said pessimist instead of pessimist. I'm not a pessimist, you guys, about this system at all because I actually think there is some amazing stuff about it. First off, it's going to give your teams the ability to ban out whatever broken thing is inside the game right now. Unite has been so much better with balance lately. Honestly, like, hats off to them. I don't even have a hat because that's how much hats off to them right now. But in general, there are times, and we all know them, where Unite goes through some really horrid balance. So it's great to give more power to the players to ban out those things inside the game. But to really make this system sing, They have to make it easier to use. You have to know who is picking and when, and you have to be able to communicate a little bit better with your team. All of those things need to happen, and I'm hopeful that we see a draft that looks at least a little different from this, so you can coordinate better with your team, and so you're not sort of forced to blindly ban not knowing which side you're picking on, which seems absolutely insane. The next thing that they're probably going to need to do is figure out a way to deal with the matchmaking inside the game, or strongly encourage players who are sort of those, you know, one-trick players. I had a player on stream the other day who has played almost 17,000 games of Pokemon Unite. And this player has a 43% win rate, and they almost always pick a Decidueye with a Rocky Helm and stuff like that. That player, I don't want to discourage them from playing the game. I would love to encourage them somehow to like look at resources to figure out how to play this game a little bit better. But more than anything, I think that player really shouldn't be in this ranked draft lobby. However, with the current matchmaking, with the current ranked progression inside of Pokemon Unite, they are going to be in your game. They are going to be doing the exact same thing. So Pokemon Unite will need to change something about their ranking system or something about their matchmaking system. I hope that's something they do. I'm not super... what's the right word for it? I don't expect that this is going to happen anytime soon. In fact, with how bad matchmaking is this current season, I'm not sure they have a good handle on their matchmaking system at all. The only thing I could hope is it becomes a lot harder to get into Master Rank, making this draft system sort of for a smaller and smaller slice of the player base, and encouraging those players to get rewards by playing in Standard. I think they are going to need to do this. And in a beautiful fantasy for draft mode, I think you would see players that want to play their one-trick Decidueye like that actually leave the ranked system because they're not as easily able to pick this Pokemon. Unfortunately, with the current systems, I don't see that happening, but hey, here's to hoping. Without question, draft is going to be a net positive for the game, and it's something that the game has needed for a while. It's going to make the ranked mode look a lot more like the highest level of competitive play inside of Pokemon Unite, and that's going to be good for everyone who's looking to play this ranked mode in a more serious way. And then hopefully the players who aren't looking for that find a lot of other things to do inside of Pokemon Unite, and possibly find a lot of fun inside of Standards where, hey, Miraidon isn't banned out. You get to pick it, buddy, so go ahead. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We're not ready for draft, but I think we could get there. And without question, the idea of this game with a real draft mode is amazing. I can't wait to see what they end up doing with it. And it's going to take us all kind of banding together to make sure that we can make it work. All right. I love you guys. Bye. We're not ready for draft. Nerf Miraidon.